recap. Tales of Herding Gods, Chapter 461, Mu Yingshui stood there in her blacks like a shadow beneath the night sky, her slender fingers clutching the fragrance pouch so tightly that her knuckles turned pale. Her gaze trembled, and in the next instant, tears broke through like a dam collapsing, cascading silently down her cheeks. She and Qin Mu had been nothing more than wanderers whose paths crossed by fate. To speak of profound emotions between them would have been like chasing mist in the wind, mere nonsense. Back then, she had only felt a faint admiration for him, finding his appearance pleasing, his bearing refined, his temperament aligning perfectly with the kind of man she would favor. For one who walked the path of poison, it was nigh impossible to find a man whose destiny could intertwine with hers. Most either trembled in terror before her or perished beneath her toxins. Yet Qin Mu was different. He was a man who could accept her. In the lands of West Earth, poison masters were revered, yet none dared to love them. Many poison masters of the past had walked alone to their graves. Their tempers were as volatile as their arts were ruthless, and thus it was only natural that no one dared draw close to them. And yet Qin Mu had kept the fragrance pouch she had given him, along with that handful of red beans, carrying them across thousands of miles to Thunder Mountain City in search of her. Though Mu Yingshui had once said she knew he had not come for her, the moment her eyes fell upon that pouch of red beans, the softest corner of her heart was stirred. Strangers, meeting by chance, yet unknowingly, longing had already taken root. Qin Mu had not journeyed to West Earth solely because of the Emperor and the Imperial Preceptor's grand scheme. Somewhere within his heart, there had always been a place for her. Silly boy, is it truly worth crossing 10,000 miles for a stranger? But Qin Mu was precisely such a person. He and Xiang Xiyu had also been strangers who met by chance, yet he had still sought justice for her without hesitation. He had saved mother and daughter alike, even at the risk of his own life. The affairs of Xiang Xiyu and her daughter had nothing to do with him, yet he had still acted. He had even escorted Xiang Qier back to West Earth, determined to right the wrongs done to them. Though the Emperor and the Imperial Preceptor's will was surely woven into it all, Mu Yingshui was certain that the true purpose in that foolish boy's heart had always been to bring justice to that mother and child. What others called foolishness was, to him, an unyielding code, a principle carved into his very bones, one that could never be overturned. To seek the fundamental truth through study is to unite knowledge and action as one. To pursue a craft or a path to its utmost limit is to grasp the essence of its underlying principles. Yet such understanding does not always arise from the heart, and the unity of heart and mind is not merely another form of knowing and acting as one. It is the mark of a true grandmaster. Mu Yingshui stood stunned. Their first meeting had been one of adversaries who admired each other's skill. She had lost then, her poison arts defeated by his. And she had come to admire that big, simple-hearted boy. Though she had gifted him red beans and stolen a fleeting kiss, it had not been love. But in their most recent meeting, what she saw was no longer his mastery of poison. It was his very character. And it was Qin Mu's character that had conquered her heart. The calamity of the Xiang family had been caused by her own hand. It was her poison that had struck down numerous experts of True Heaven Palace, shattering their cultivation, allowing the Yu family to seize the palace in a single decisive strike. Without their pillars, the Shang family had crumbled. The countless tragic deaths that followed were all tied to her sin. The downfall of the Shang family was caused by me. I cannot allow my little man to bear this burden in my stead. Mu Yingshui lifted her head, and in that instant, confidence surged back into her spine like a rising tide. A radiant smile bloomed upon her lips. In West Earth, women stand at the forefront. How could I allow my little man to face the disaster I brought upon him? Sisters of Thunder Mountain City. Her voice rang clear and spirited, echoing like a phoenix's cry. Pack your belongings and prepare for war. Within Thunder Mountain City, countless divine arts practitioners adept in poison swiftly gathered, their movements sharp and decisive. They assembled before their chief and beheld her, radiant as never before. Her face glowed with a pearlescent sheen, her beauty brimming with vitality. Sister, where are we heading? A young girl asked. Mu Yingshui leapt into the air, and emerald vines coiled from the void, gathering beneath her feet to lift her skyward. Her laughter rang like silver bells. "Where else? We're going to chase after your brother-in-law and shove this pouch of yearning red beans back into his hands. We must make sure he keeps it close forever, never forgetting this longing, nor me, Mu Yingshui." "All right," the girls roared in unison, laughter rippling through the ranks. "Let's go. Such a fine brother-in-law must not be stolen away by any vixen. We'll seize him back. Seize brother-in-law back." Chinmu returned to the god burial valley of the Liu family. Behind him, pitch-black coffins sprouted legs, clattering across the ground as they pursued him like an army of restless spirits. Above, the sky darkened as countless black coffins gathered, forming a vast cloud. At the center, chains suspended a massive golden coffin, brilliant, ominous, and impossible to ignore. It was escorted through the heavens by countless black coffins, and Chinmu could not fathom why Lu Ruyan insisted on bringing such a perilous object along. Yet upon hearing that it had been her daughter's idea, he chose not to question it further. That little girl, Liu Zhenqing, was cunning and sharp beyond her years. If she wished to bring the golden coffin, it surely had its purpose. As Chinmu led the Liu family forces towards Sword River Valley, intending to rendezvous with He Yi and the others, a clear and spirited voice suddenly rang out from behind him. "Little man, wait for me." Chinmu turned, and his expression froze in astonishment. The divine arts practitioners of Thunder Mountain City surged forward in a grand procession, mounted upon all manner of venomous beasts and insects. Spiders, centipedes, toads, serpents, poisonous birds, savage beasts, swarms of wasps. They filled both earth and sky. Even toxic flora had awakened under their command. Poisonous tree men marched with thunderous steps, while slender vines carried flower maidens whose petals fluttered like living silk. Venomous fish had grown limbs, sprinting across the land with uncanny speed. At the forefront, Mu Yingshui blazed with vitality, carving a path through the coffin army. Without a word, she leapt onto the dragon Chilin's head, seized Chinmu's hand, and pressed the fragrance pouch firmly into his palm before wrapping her arms around him and planting a resounding kiss upon his cheek. Chinmu stood bewildered. Mu Yingshui, however, lifted her chin with pride, her voice ringing out boldly. "You must keep this pouch of yearning with you forever. Never discard it. Never forget me in this lifetime. Can you do it?" Heroic spirit surged within Chinmu's chest as he declared loudly, "I can." Mu Yingshui turned back, waving at her sisters. "He said he can. Sisters, aunts, let us storm True Heaven Palace and overturn the world." A thunderous cheer erupted behind them. Beside the dragon Chilin, a small black coffin tipped open, and Liu Zhenqing poked her head out, arms crossed, lips pursed in displeasure. "Little vixen," she muttered, casting a disdainful glance at Mu Yingshui. Lu Ruyan's coffin drifted beside her, and the Liu family's chief whispered, "Let her revel in her pride while she can. When she dies, we'll make her one of the Liu." Within Sword River Valley, banners danced in the wind like war flags of the heavens. Chinmu was stunned by the sheer number of influential families from West Earth that had gathered and established their encampments. Never before had West Earth been so alive with fervor. The banners of the He family, Fang family, Gong family, Shi family, and Fu family stood tall. And they were but a fraction of those present. Countless other families had answered the call. Each great family specialized in a distinct art. The He family mastered formations. The Fang family commanded mountains. The Gong family governed rivers. The Shi family controlled grasses and trees. The Fu family wielded the power of weather itself, and the others possessed their own unique dominions. What astonished Chinmu most was that the assembled forces were predominantly women, yet their numbers were overwhelming. A grand army of hundreds of thousands stood before him. Even in the Eternal Peace Empire, where women could serve as officials and soldiers, they comprised only a fifth of the populace. Men still dominated. Yet in West Earth, the balance was reversed. Women made up 80%, while men accounted for merely 20%, and even then, most men were relegated to trivial tasks. This is a rare opportunity for the great families of West Earth. If the Yu family falls, and the Shang family's decline continues, they will gain unprecedented freedom from True Heaven Palace. That is why they have risen in rebellion. Chinmu drew in a deep breath, his gaze locking onto the distant True Heaven Palace as his fist clenched. When he had set out for West Earth, he had brought only the dragon Chilin and Shihir, just himself, a mount, and a frail girl. Not a single soldier accompanied him. Yet now he commanded a force of hundreds of thousands of women, ready to march upon the mightiest power in West Earth. At the thought, his entire body trembled with exhilaration, his primordial spirit nearly soaring free from his flesh. Holding Shangqi's hand, he entered Bamboo City alongside Mu Yingshui, Lu Ruyin, and Lu Zhenqing. The heads of all the great families had gathered, awaiting his arrival with bated breath. Qin Mu bowed deeply. Qin Mu, cult master of the Heavenly Devil cult from Middle Earth, greets all my sisters. The gathered women hurriedly returned the gesture. Cult Master Qin, there is no need for such formality. Qin Mu gently tugged Xiongqi forward, and she bowed as well. Cheer greets all the aunts. The crowd responded in a flurry. We dare not. Little princess, please rise. Straightening, Qin Mu smiled broadly. When women unite, their resolve can reshape the heavens and earth. Sisters, this little brother has journeyed from Middle Earth, eager to witness your prowess at True Heaven Palace. Sister Yi, shall we depart? At her command, Bamboo City shuddered, its roots tearing free from the earth as it rose. Simultaneously, the leaders of every great family issued their orders. The land trembled, clouds surged, and the vast army of women advanced toward True Heaven Palace. The dragon Chilin glanced back, sighing inwardly. Even Patriarch was not this formidable. Cult Master truly lives up to his name. He came to West Earth for but a moment and has already gathered hundreds of thousands of women. Far above, upon a drifting cloud, Eternal Peace, Imperial Preceptor, and Xiang Xiu observed the grand spectacle. Xiang Xiu stood speechless, her mind blank. Even the Imperial Preceptor was silent. Imperial Preceptor, did you foresee this outcome? Xiang Xiu finally asked, studying the man beside her. Even I, once Nai Kui, could not command such power as Cult Master Qin. To rally hundreds of thousands with a single call, is he not too terrifying? The Imperial Preceptor exhaled slowly, his voice low. I knew he would stir trouble and draw the attention of True Heaven Palace, but I did not expect him to excel to this extent. True Heaven Palace will undoubtedly feel threatened. And better still, Bago will have no choice but to reveal himself. Once he falters, the god hidden within True Heaven Palace will be forced into the open, and I shall have my chance to strike a fatal blow. His gaze lingered on the surging army below, and a shiver ran through him as he shook his head. Too terrifying. Such cohesion is beyond belief. Yet this is Cult Master Qin's gift. Even I was deceived into joining the Heavenly Saint cult by him. If this little rascal were ever to rebel. Translator. Editor. Dark Gem. We shall merely trail them from a distance and conceal ourselves well. Eternal Peace. Imperial Preceptor gazed as Qin Mu's army of women departed and spoke with calm ease. Await Bago and that god to take action. Cult Master Qin will resolve all matters for us. Shang Xiu's heart stirred deeply. In those days, when she had sought Qin Mu's aid within the great ruins, she had never imagined that the youth who had rescued them would possess such terrifying might. He was now capable of stirring monstrous tempests across the whole of West Earth. She had once believed him to be nothing more than a disciple of some influential clan with modest skill. Yet, the more she came to understand him, the more she was shaken by the depth of his extraordinariness. The immense Bamboo City raced across the boundless land, while Qin Mu and the leaders of West Earth's great clans stood atop the city tower, directing their forces and maintaining order so that the various groups would not descend into chaos and trample one another. The disciples of West Earth's great clans were not trained soldiers, and thus considerable effort was required to guide and control them. Fortunately, there was Yi, the master of formations, who wielded her formation arts to command the disciples of the great clans. With her assistance, everything gradually became orderly and far easier to manage. West Earth Swordmaster, Luo Yinyu, pays her respects to Cult Master Qin of Middle Earth. Qin Mu raised his gaze toward the long-haired maiden approaching him, astonishment flickering across his features as he hastily returned her greeting. West Earth possessed 3 great masters: Poison Master Mu Yingshui, Formation Master He Yi, and Sword Master Luo Yinyu. Qin Mu was already well acquainted with Mu Yingshui and He Yi, leaving only Sword Master Luo Yinyu as a stranger to him. She differed greatly from the other women of West Earth, where others adorned themselves with gold and silver, crowns, necklaces, and countless bracelets upon their limbs. Not a single ornament could be found upon her person. Her attire was equally plain. She wore only a simple robe, unadorned yet refined, devoid of any unnecessary color. Her hair bore no decoration either. It was bound only by a single plain string to prevent it from becoming disheveled. Her black hair flowed down to her waist like that of other women, forming a striking contrast against her snow-white garments. Her simplicity stemmed from her nature, for she was like a sword, one that could not tolerate even the slightest impurity. Any ornament would become a flaw to her. She was a woman who knew no joy beyond her sword, one who had likely long since wedded herself to it. The moment Chinmu beheld her, he felt as though a blade had been leveled at him. When she bowed, a fierce sword light burst forth, incomparably sharp, piercing directly toward his Tao heart. Chinmu returned her bow, effortlessly dispelling the sword intent. Swordmaster Luo Yinyu straightened, a peculiar glimmer in her eyes. Cultmaster Qin is also a practitioner of sword arts? Chinmu inclined his head modestly. I would not dare claim such a title. In this world, there are countless experts whose abilities surpass mine. Yet in terms of attainments within sword arts, I may perhaps be counted among them. Luo Yinyu's curiosity deepened. I have long wished to travel to Middle-earth to witness the caliber of its swords. Since Cultmaster Qin is a sword expert of Middle-earth, could you tell me, who are those whose sword arts surpass yours? Qinmu pondered briefly, then shook his head. There should be none who surpass me purely in sword skills. However, there are those who have stepped into the realm of the sword path, and I dare not say how many such individuals exist. Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor is certainly above me. There is also my family's village chief. He taught me 3 sword techniques, and his attainments upon the sword path are extraordinary. As for others who walk the sword path, I know too little to speak with certainty. The sword path of sword skills? Luo Yinyu's expression dimmed as she murmured, does such a realm truly exist? I have pursued the ultimate limits of sword skill for so many years, yet have never touched upon the sword path. And yet, there are truly those who have entered such a wondrous domain? Qinmu understood her disappointment. Luo Yinyu stood at the peak of pursuing knowledge, striving toward the ultimate understanding of sword skill. She had likely already reached its limits, yet had no awareness of the sword path, and thus remained unable to step into it. For Qinmu to reveal that Middle-earth contained numerous experts of the sword path was, to her, a profound blow. Though sword skills and sword path differed by but a single word, the gap between them was as vast as heaven and earth. No matter how refined one's sword skill, before a true practitioner of the sword path, it would appear insignificant. Qinmu's curiosity was stirred, and he spoke, I have not witnessed the sword arts of West Earth before. I wonder how they compare to those of Middle Earth. Originally, we possessed 14 forms. Later, Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor added 3 more, bringing the total to 17. Not long ago, I too added another, making 18 forms of basic sword skills. How many forms does West Earth possess? Luo Yinyu's eyes widened in astonishment. 18 forms already exist in Middle Earth? West Earth retains only 14. However, our sword arts rely upon the sword spirit, emphasizing raw power. What we employ may differ from your techniques. Qinmu was immediately invigorated. In recent days, he had been studying sword spirits, yet had made little progress. He constantly felt pressed for time, with much to learn. Now that he had encountered a sword master like Luo Yinyu of West Earth, he naturally seized the opportunity to seek her guidance. The two discussed his questions in meticulous detail, and both gained considerable insight. West Earth and sword arts utilize spirits to wield the blade, greatly amplifying their might, nearly doubling it. In Qinmu's eyes, however, West Earth's sword techniques lacked intricacy and were far less varied compared to those of Eternal Peace Empire. Even Luo Yinyu herself, though a master, fell short when compared to the collective attainments of Middle Earth's many sects. Yet the sword spirit elevated the power of her strikes to a level that Middle Earth's experts could only envy. Each movement, each form, surged with overwhelming force, imbued with a heroic aura that made it difficult for others to face her directly. Luo Yinyu, in turn, perceived the extraordinary innovations brought forth by Middle-earth's reforms. Their sword techniques were treacherous and filled with endless variations. She was especially wary after witnessing the 4 foundational sword forms created by Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor, as well as the one established by Qin Mu. These forms expanded the possibilities of sword arts immeasurably, opening countless avenues of change. Luo Yinyu attempted the spiral sword form, coil sword form, drill sword form, and the 18th form Qin Mu had devised. After careful contemplation, she said, "Something feels amiss. The first 14 forms of Middle-earth sword arts are no different from those of West-earth. Yet these 4, though still fundamental techniques, require ever greater magic power the further one cultivates them. This is especially true for the form you created, Cult Master Qin. A single execution nearly consumes half my cultivation. If a 19th form were created, would it not exhaust all the power of a sword practitioner? And if one were to reach a 20th form, would anyone even be capable of performing it?" Qin Mu's heart trembled violently, as though he had found a kindred spirit. His gaze burned with fervor. "You can sense the 19th sword form as well?" Luo Yinyu looked at him with equal delight. "You feel it too?" The two exchanged a knowing smile. "After I created the 18th form, I felt an urge to continue," Qin Mu said, his voice growing intense as he revealed his thoughts. "At that moment, I could sense the existence of a 19th form. I believed then that such a form must exist. However, I was battling Sister Yi at the time and dared not allow my focus to waver, so I did not investigate further. But the 19th sword form must exist. Since you also perceive it, then my intuition was not mistaken." Luo Yinyu nodded. "The 19th form may very well be the key that allows us to step directly into the sword path." Excitement surged within them both. "That reminds me," Qin Mu said. "Eternal Peace Empire lies close to the sea. Why, then, is it referred to as Middle-earth?" Luo Yinyu shook her head. "I know little of matters beyond my sword. Most of my time is spent in its pursuit." At the side, Fang Keidi, chief of the Fang family, smiled and said, "Cult Master Qin, the name Middle-earth has existed since ancient times. It refers to the lands of the Great Ruins and the regions to the east. The sea beside your Eternal Peace Empire is thus called East Earth." As the 2 youths immersed themselves in the study of sword arts, exchanging insights, they drew the attention of many onlookers. Though some possessed higher cultivation realms, before Qin Mu and Luo Yinyu, both masters of the sword, they could only watch in admiration. Qin Mu frowned slightly. "The East Sea contains no land. Why then is it called East Earth?" Fang Chaidi had not delved deeply into this mystery and could only shake her head. "I do not know. East Sea was once land, hence the name East Earth," said Fu Yunxi, chief of the Fu family. "Within the cloud book of our Fu family, records exist concerning both East and Middle Earth. It states that their division is not based on present geography, but upon that of a distant past." Qin Mu's heart gave a sudden jolt, and he thought of Bent Mountain Shrine. It had once stood upon a towering mountain that had since sunk beneath the East Sea, 5,000 yards below the surface. The mountain's base lay even deeper. This meant that the East Sea had once been land, known as East Earth. Yet Fu Yunxi spoke of divisions dating back to an era even earlier than the founding Emperor era, to the High Emperor era. The High Emperor era likely belonged to East Earth, which is now the East Sea. The third move of Sword Picture is Calamity of High Emperor. It must be tied to that era. Qin Mu fell into deep contemplation. Sword Picture contained moves created by the village chief, and Calamity of High Emperor was its third form. This meant the village chief must have grasped a fragment of that ancient history. "Village chief, I will go to Fengdu and save you." The youth silently vowed. Suddenly, He Yi's clear voice rang out. "We are nearing True Heaven Palace. All forces, be on guard." Swordmaster Luo Yinyu immediately rose and returned to the Luo family. Fu Yunxi, Fang Keidi, Mu Yingshui, and Liu Ruyan likewise returned to their respective forces. Qin Mu stood upon the city tower, his heart trembling as he gazed ahead. Before him rose countless towering mountains, standing like silent giants 3,000 yards tall, stretching between heaven and earth. They resembled the colossal figure Qin Mu had once encountered near Fragrant Bloom City, only larger, more imposing, and far more perilous. Among them stood sword peaks, mountains shaped like blades thrust skyward. There were also bell peaks shaped like ancient bells, cauldron peaks resembling massive cauldrons, pagoda peaks rising like towering pagodas, building peaks structured like multi-storied halls. Each and every one of these peaks was a spirit weapon, manifest in myriad forms. Beneath the mountains flowed a great river, surging with tremendous force, twisting through 9 bends and 18 curves. A rainbow waterfall cascaded down from 10,000 yards above. High in the sky, a sea of clouds drifted, within which thunder and lightning intertwined. Amidst that sea of clouds, a cluster of palaces gleamed faintly with golden radiance. They were the true heaven palace of West Earth. The sacred ground of West Earth was far more formidable than Chin Mu had imagined.